Three. All right. Welcome. I have the band More here with me, and I've got Ramley Oak and
Hi.
uh, and Peter Rand, and they're gonna do a quick introduction of themselves, and then and by the way, welcome to the Noble Shire Progressive Discussion at here at progressiverockcentral.com. I almost forgot to say that. But they're going to give a quick introduction to themselves, and then we're going to be talking about their new album, The Wisdom of Simple Things, which was released on April 4th of this year. An excellent album, and these guys are wonderful to talk to because we're already getting the 10-minute limit. so, uh, so we'll definitely be going into two of these. But let each of these guys introduce themselves, and again, once you're done introducing, let's talk about the name, where it comes from for the band, and then we'll talk about the title of the album. Go ahead. I'm going to stop.
Pete, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm Peter Rand. I've been involved in music for a long time, but not until more recent years have I been involved in actually producing music and recording it. So, starting in mid 2000s, I got together locally with some friends of mine here in to produce a covers band basically, and we played a few gigs, very short gigs, and we eventually recorded a couple of things. But since then, I've been involved in my own stuff via online collaboration, but via compose.com, KOMPOZ.com, which where I've met Ramley and also Chris, our third member. And that's really started for me in 2009. So we're now 2024. So it's actually 15 years.
Wow.
Last 15 years, I've been combining a paid work and now retirement with producing music in conjunction with collaborators around the world who might be in the next street to me, but sometimes are in a different continent. And that's where I'm coming from. Background musically, to me, I was originally into folk rock in the 70s. So the first band I really got into was the Strawbs, if anybody remembers them, and that sort of folk prog rock type of stuff. 80s, probably more into the likes of things like Elvis Costello and people like that is a another big favorite of mine. And moving on again through the 90s, I don't know, REM maybe, and then now, as you can see on the T-shirt, my current favorite band is written large upon my chest. But musically, prog rock, folk rock, a mixture of the two is where I'm at, I suppose, and that's me. And I'm from Liverpool, near Liverpool anyway, on Merseyside.
And he just got done
in the UK.
seeing Big Train. And
I've just been to see them last Wednesday. They did an absolutely wonderful concert in Manchester, and they were, I saw them a year ago with a relatively new lineup, and that same lineup has got even better now. So they're really good. They're absolutely worth going to see live if you ever get the chance. Go and see them, definitely.
What do you, while you mentioned Manchester, I've been listening to a lot of Chameleons lately. Do you know who the Chameleons are, and what do you?
No, you see, that's one of my failings in life is
That's all
I
right.
spend so much time doing my own stuff. I don't really listen to as much things as I ought to.
Okay.
Because lots of people I know, have you heard this band? Have you heard that? And I quite often don't really, because I'm spending most of the time concentrating on doing my own stuff, my own thing, and it's a failing in a way. But then again, I don't have the time to do both.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't. Sorry.
No problem.
But that is me. So, Ramley, over to you.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Ramley. I write lyrics and sing and play bass and drums on this album. Um, I was originally from Australia, but I live in Japan now, in Western Japan. Um, I guess my musical background is was more pop. I grew up listening to anything. I was just a general listener of anything that was on the radio when I was a kid, and I had a solid grounding in popular music. And it wasn't until much later that I actually started getting interested in progressive rock. I didn't even realize it existed as a genre until much later in my life, probably in my late teens, early 20s, when I finally stumbled upon progressive rock and thought, this stuff's amazing. I've got to dig deeper into this. But I toured around Australia in covers bands for many, many, many years, filling up a truck with gear and just doing one pub to the next, one town to the next, and did that for years. Grew to despise it, and thought I don't want to do that anymore. Ended up going to university. Music was always there for me. It never went away. I was always writing and recording. And more recently, I found the Compos collaboration site, where I met Peter and Chris and dozens of other musicians from all over the world, who are all collaborating, working together, producing some fantastic music, really amazing. And to think that these musicians never set foot in a studio with each other, a conventional studio. And we'll dig into this, I think, a bit more deeply. But to think that this volume of music is being produced by musicians in the traditional sense,
Yeah.
recording tracks and then mixing it down and producing songs and albums is quite extraordinary. And I think it's a turning point in the way that music is being produced in this period. I think that's me in a nutshell.
It's good to hear. Got to ask you, since you brought it up, were any of those cover bands out of Adelaide?
No. I was East Coast and Northern Australia.
All right. I had a good friend, Mark Truax. You may
Right.
have you've heard of him?
No, I
From
haven't.
from Unitopia. Okay. He used to be in a Genesis cover band out
Okay.
of Adelaide, and might have bumped into each other somewhere along the way, but no.
Unfortunately not.
All right. So let's talk about the name of the band. And Peter corrected me. I thought for sure it was French, but obviously I don't know how to distinguish the written language. But go ahead and tell us where that idea came from.
Yeah, the idea for the name of the band, actually, as with lots of bands, I think, has come from the names of the people involved in it. So my surname is Rand, which is obviously begins with an R. Ramley Oak, O, and Chris Matthews, M. And so, apart from calling ourselves Rom or Orm, we ended up with More, and put
More is always better.
yeah, exactly. So we ended up with More, but More is also the Welsh word for I think BC, and my pronunciation probably is. If any Welsh people are listening, my apologies, but it's probably not the correct way to pronounce it. But that's the way I'm pronouncing it, and it's M with a circumflex accent over there, with O with a circumflex accent over there. Over it, and that's what the band comes from. So it's just it's like ELP, but
There you go.
for the modern world.
All
And
right.
that's where the name of the band came from. And we, as with all of these things, you think of various names and things, but it's short, it fits, it does the job. It does the job.
There was a guy that I'll never forget I don't know his name, but there's a guy that he was like a producer for Asia and Yes. And he always said, that Asia wanted to come up with some kind of big long name. He goes, no, it's not going to fit on an album cover. I want something nice and easy. Asia, it is. And
Yeah.
it did.
Well, yes, we
Yeah.
have a short band name, but the album cover, the album title names might be longer. But that's,
Yeah.
that's a trade-off.
But I'll never forget when he said that. I was like, oh, so that's where it came from.
Keep it short.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. The wisdom of simple things. Can you tell us what that's all about in a minute? No, we'll come back, but go ahead.
I
Okay,
think
well-
Ramley's the man. Yeah.
That comes from the second track on the album. It's the title track, and